Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 519. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez,
Sup, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero,
Yo, yo, yo.
Adam Vale,
How you doing? How you doing?
Richard Bailey Jr.,
What's up, everybody?
and Brian Manjoma.
What's up? What's up?
All right, guys, you already know, back with another one. Chris may or may not show up. And we got a lot of questions tonight, so we're gonna get right into it. No sleep for the weary or whatever. Jay Shep, my man asked a lot of questions, so we got to give a shout out to some helpful people who decided to volunteer for the extra ones. So thank you for that. Anyway, let's get into it. His first question here is: when I was a kid, I was unaware of what was actually happening when Sega went third party. Seeing all of this happening right now with Xbox feels surreal. How does it feel for you guys to watch this historic moment in gaming happen once again? Here's the thing. A lot of people have been saying, oh, they're turning to Sega, but it's not the same process. When the Dreamcast went away, even though we kind of knew it was coming, me and Manny reading the game magazines, we kind of knew it was still kind of sudden. This Xbox thing has been going on gradually for 10 years. Remember, it's been actually 10 years since the whole Play Anywhere initiative, right? And
they
then
brought it up in the court case just last year.
brought up in the court case.
People forgot about
Yeah,
that.
and then let's not forget, last year we had, what I'm going to call the Xbox 4, no relation to the Capcom 5. The Xbox 4 were Grounded, Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, and Hi-Fi Rush, right? Those were Xbox first-party exclusives, right? That came over to PlayStation and Nintendo. So when this happened, even then we were like, dude, it's only a matter of time before one of the big three comes over, right? And I believe we probably did say out of all of those, it's probably going to be Forza first because it's the one that's going to be the least egregious, right? So none of this, comparing it to what happened with Sega, not even close. This was a 10-year thing. And even if up until recently, we had 1 year to prepare for this. So I don't even consider this. Here's the thing. I'm not going to say it's not important because obviously we're talking about it, but it is not on that same level, And unlike Sega, Xbox is still going to be making hardware, right? When the Dreamcast died, they said, we're done, finito, that's it, no more consoles. So this is not even close to the same thing. I understand why people will make that comparison because you have a hardware manufacturer not going third party, but they're still making hardware, right? So it's not exactly the same. So it doesn't I get it. Like if you didn't live through that Sega thing, because that was fucking traumatic, especially for me. I've always told this story. After when that shit happened, dude, I was like, I guess I'm done with gaming. I was so obsessed with Sega. I was like, I guess I'm done. And for 3 months or 4 months or whatever, there was no gaming. I was just playing on my Dreamcast, playing my Sega Saturn. That was it. It wasn't until like a friend of ours, our boy Mike, he got me and Manny PlayStations at a very steep discount. We don't know how he got these, his boy got these PlayStations. We didn't ask.
Yep.
And I was like, I'll be stupid because I hated PlayStation. I call that shit the gay station, back then. I was like, fuck this shit. I'm glad I'm allowed to say these things now that things are different. Anyway, so I was like, fuck the PlayStation. But I was like, $130 for a PlayStation with Gran Turismo, I'd be stupid not to buy this. And I, warmed up to it. Obviously, PS2, one of the greatest consoles of all time. Yeah. But that shit was traumatic. If you're an Xbox guy, you still have a console. You're good, you know? So
it's funny. It's funny when that happened with Tony. I'm like, I knew this guy ain't gonna be swearing off of games, but and then at that point,
it was traumatic, man.
You went in and then you started essentially played catch up. You played Final Fantasy and all the other things. But yeah, like when it came to like the Sega thing, it definitely felt a lot more sudden.
Yes,
because number one, it's like, we're hearing like, we're reading the game magazines, we're hearing like, that in Japan that they stopped making games for it,
Yeah.
but yet it's still doing well in the United States.
Mhm.
See, the weird thing about it is that like in that situation, they killed that console despite it doing well in the States, just based on the fact on how badly it did in Japan.
Yeah.
That's why Xbox and Microsoft hired the guy, what's his face? He had the little tattoo. They put the tat. He had.
Oh
the
yeah,
Xbox tattoo
Peter
on.
Moore. Yeah.
Peter Moore.
Peter Moore saw what was going on in Japan and how badly Dreamcast did, and he literally figured out how to do a 180 on it, and it did really well in the States. And everybody thought at the time, okay, because okay, it's not doing so well in Japan, and we're not getting a lot of the big Japanese games that, and also there's a lot of the PlayStation 2 was on the horizon, but it's like he was able to get it to, get the sales to work a bit better. But then again, since Japan wasn't doing anything, they just slowly but surely let it die, and we're like, we're still sitting there like, come on, guys, like, we're still here, did okay here, but
Yeah. And you're right. That was the only hint that we had that the system would eventually go away. When the gaming magazine started reporting that they had discontinued it in Japan, it's like, oh, fuck. But we knew it was doing well here. So we're like, maybe there's a chance, but obviously that didn't work out in the end. So that's why the situations are very different. Again, this Xbox thing has been a gradual thing for 10 years now, and you still have consoles, so it's not the same. It is a noteworthy moment, but I wouldn't say it's historic on the level of Sega going third party. It's a different thing.
It's not a surprise, and this is what
not at all.
bothers me.
Yeah.
When we hear this, they said it. They said it in the whole agreement to get Activision that they were going to make this 10-year deal with these multiple platforms. And it's like, I guess the people that are still questioning is just heard Charlie Brown talk, and didn't believe it. It's like, they said they were going to do this. Why would they sign contracts?
We said this on the last show. It's like, it's all because they haven't officially said we are going third party.
Yes, that's what it is. Because they haven't heard that. There's still that little bit of hope, I guess, or whatever. Yeah, you're right.
Because even when Phil says it, he always tap dances around the idea of third party. He even never really officially comes out of his mouth. He's like, oh, case by case basis, stuff like that. He never says third party, because I think in general, I also think the minute they say that, it might also hurt certain things. Also, the fact that they still are making Xboxes.
Mm-hmm. So they're in a weird spot because they're third party, but they're also first party. They're simultaneously both. So that's why maybe they can't say third party, because they're technically not 100%. They are, but they aren't. It's a weird thing. They
are and they aren't.
Yeah. So again, not like Sega at all. Absolutely different story.
Also not to mention the turnover. Definitely the turnover for porting over games is a lot quicker in this. It seems like it's a lot quicker, because it didn't, like, a lot of those. What was it? They didn't port a lot of those games over to PlayStation. I mean, granted, Dead or Alive made it over, but that made it over like in the second year or something like that of PlayStation. So everything eventually did come, but it didn't seem like this, where it's like, as soon as they flip the switch, then you already see, there's already like titles that are on there. But again, like, I think in this situation, they're going, just like how Phil said, case by case basis. I think the case by case basis is going to be the factors. They're big super cornerstone titles like an Indiana Jones. That's not going to be day and date. Halo, not day and date.
Yeah.
They're going to come out later. And I think this Indiana Jones thing is also a big test for them too. Once Indiana Jones drops on the PlayStation, they're going to see if they get what I call the Tomb Raider effect. Remember when Tomb Raider was exclusive on the Xbox, and then a year later it came out on the PlayStation?
Yeah.
And then a year later, it came out on the PlayStation. And then a year later, it came out on the Xbox. And then a year later, it came out on the PlayStation. And then a year later, it came out on the Xbox. And then a year later, it came out on the PlayStation. And then a year later, it came out on the PlayStation. a lot of those, what that situation though, a lot of the momentum got lost in that time space.
It always does. It's the same thing with Dead Rising. When that Dead Rising one did, it was the same thing.
There's less time because that Tomb Raider port came out, like you said, a year later, maybe
it's like
more.
a year later.
Yeah, at least Indiana Jones is still kind of fresh in Will's minds, but it's still the same effect. It's still going to be the same effect. It's not fresh anymore, you know? J Shep says he disagrees. He thinks Halo will be day and date along years. You know, you might be right. You know, we're not going to say no. But I think for now, for now, I think that may be the strategy. But next gen, who knows, bro?
I'm curious to see what happens when the 10-year contract is done. That's what I'm really curious about, because we know they had to make, first it was only going to be no contract. Remember, there was none of that. Then it wasn't going to go through. Then they made it to 5 years. All right, we're going to offer 5 years. Then they were still having issues that like, all right, 10 years, a whopping 10 years. And it's like, okay, a decade. What happens when that decade's over? Well, who knows? We don't know where the gaming industry is even going to be at that point. But that's what I'm looking forward to, because I already know what's happening in 10 years. We're going to see all kinds of poor case by case. I guess it's more like what they can make money off of. That's it. Like, hey, you think this will make money over there? Then let's do it. Let's make some money. We don't care, because we're really all about the service. Game Pass. That's it. Remember, Phil said it. If I could put a Game Pass on a PlayStation device, I'd do it. And so he doesn't care. It's all about making the money.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else want to jump in on this? The whole comparison between Sega and Xbox. All right.
Pretty sure you guys covered everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Chris, you know. Yeah, because basically J Shep was saying, like, is this, you know, on the same scale? And we said no, it's completely different, you know.
No, it is completely different. First of all, this was being slow rolled. You saw this train coming.
10 years,
with Sega,
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, Sega, that was just out of the blue. They just was like, we're done. Like, Dreamcast was done. They're going third party. The two announcements of the Dreamcast ending and then putting like Shenmue and stuff on Xbox was almost at the same time.
Yeah, that was fast. Yeah, and you know, this is what we said before. It's like we only had an inkling, or not even inkling, a clue that Sega Dreamcast would be discontinued when they discontinued it in Japan. We're like, oh shit. You know, but then when the word came, it was bad. But then with Xbox, it's been 10 years, Chris, since the whole Play Anywhere initiative started. And last year, what did we get? The Xbox 4. You know, those games all came to other consoles. And like Adam said, during the court case, they said, we will bring our games to PlayStation and Nintendo. So
yeah, that's right.
So having Forza come, and Chris, we said it on Throwdown. We said if any of the big three games is going to come first, it's going to be Forza. We said this shit on this show already, so no surprises here. But when Sega happened, we're like, whoa, what the fuck? You know,
in our lifetime, though, I mean, for the younger people, they haven't seen it, but we've had multiple consoles go under. 3DO,
3DO,
come and go. That was Turbo Graphics,
Jaguar, Neo Geo.
Jaguar. We've had things come in, and Neo Geo, you know, like, oh my God, look at this is gonna be around forever, and then it's gone.
Jaguar, all that bullshit.
Yeah,
we lived through all that, man. You know,
all of it.
Yeah, J-Shep, I know you said you were a kid when the Sega stuff was happening, so you didn't know. But Manny and I, we were 19, bro. Like, we were 20. What the fuck am I talking about? We were like
29. Like 2000. Was
2000.
it 2000?
Yeah, we were 20, so we lived through it. And like, you know, like Adam said, we lived through the 90s. We saw all these consoles come and go. The 90s probably had the most amount of consoles ever released. It was crazy back then.
I loved my
everybody was releasing a console back then.
That was the first console that had the headphone jack in the controller.
Yep.
You know,
jack in the controller.
You know?
I mean, even like Philips CDI counts.
Philips CDI, the Turbo Express. What? The first that you could take your console game and then take it on the go, your portable and go with it.
Yeah,
that was magic.
That's still a crazy thing for them. Because like now it's like, oh hey, we got Nintendo Switch. You can, it's the console you take on the go. That thing is like they just tipped the same hue card and you could stick that right inside your Turbo Express, which was about the same size as a Game Boy.
Yep,
with color screen.
With a color backlit screen, and it had a television.
That these motherfuckers don't know, man.
And they had exclusives. They had Splatterhouse. Remember that
Splatterhouse? That was crazy. Remember that shit on
the kid
Lynx?
with the big head who had a tumor in his head because it's so heavy and he kept
legendary axe. Yeah.
I remember one of my boys, man. He had that fucking Lynx, bro. That like seeing Splatterhouse for the first time was nuts. You know. Real quick, J Shep goes, just to be clear, during the court case, the whole Throwdown crew knew Xbox was going third party because I don't remember. We didn't say that. We said during the court case, they said we made a 10-year deal and we're bringing games to play. They said it. J Shep, you studied those fucking court cases more than we did. You know they said that.
Remember, the big holdoff was that Sony didn't want to sign it. Remember, that was the whole thing. They offered it to GeForce. They offered it to Nintendo that they signed it. They offered it to some other services we never even heard of in Eastern Europe. They signed it. Sony was the holdout. And then eventually they did it to some disclosed time. Whatever. We don't know if till this day, if they did the 10-year, they got some deal. But they worked it out. And that was the thing because remember, Sony kept saying in the court case, they want to monopolize. They're going to take Call of Duty away from us. And so they felt like they had to give this guarantee. And the best way to do it is in writing in a contract.
There you go. They did say that, but everyone was speculating that it was just about Activision games, not the whole slate.
No.
It was everything,
Even when Nintendo made the announcement, when they confirmed it, it was for Microsoft-based games to come over to the Nintendo platform for the next 10 years.
Yep.
It said Microsoft. It didn't say Call of Duty, or Activision. It said Microsoft's games. So you throw anything you want under that. That could be Gears.
Yeah. So what if for the Nintendo deal, for you Banjo-Kazooie fans?
There you go.
There you go.
On the Switch.
Yeah.
Not just the cameo in Super Smash Bros.
Yeah. But there you go. But basically, the heart of it is this news seeing Forza was not shocking. It's been a gradual buildup for literally 10 years. Throwdown has been covering this shit since the beginning. All right, let's go on because we got a lot of questions and some more Xbox stuff. All right, another one from Mr. J Shep. Unpopular opinion. From this moment on, Xbox showcases will be better than PlayStation showcases. What are your thoughts? Aren't they both going to effectively be the same thing? Because all those games are coming to all platforms, right? So,
I mean, besides some time,
but I will give you this, J Shep. They will be better because the Xbox showcases will be like, hey, what Xbox games are coming to PlayStation? That'll be the big deal about them. So in that case, yes, they will be very more entertaining because if you saw the fallout on Twitter, I was sharing a lot of things on the Discord. Dudes going nuts, even though like Phil Spencer's been telling you this shit. So yes, in that case, the Xbox showcase will be more entertaining because it'll be like, ooh, what's coming next? Ooh, what's coming next? Ooh, what's coming next? It'll be fun. It'll be fun times, man.
They're all hit or miss for all of them because it all depends on what they showcase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it could be whack.
It could be a bunch of whack games, and you're like, oh wow, that sucked. What sucked about it? Was the presentation or what they showed? Because if you're not interested in the games, then but if they did a great job
with that presentation, though.
Exactly.
But slight aside on this one. So during the if you watch the Ninja Gaiden, the new Ninja Gaiden 4 trailer, you ever notice the first thing you see on there, even on the PlayStation thing?
No, what
Remember
is it?
how we said it says Xbox Studios?
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yes.
So they're just gonna throw a general logo, you think?
No, I think they paid something to develop that Ninja Gaiden 4.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let me check that out because I did see the PlayStation thing be.
Yeah, if you look at the beginning of that,
I'm going to Sony's channel real quick.
Oh yeah, go on to Sony's channel, go to Ninja Gaiden, and the first thing you see, Xbox Studios.
Yep, there it is. The very first thing you see on a PlayStation's official YouTube channel. There's a video where the first thing you see is Xbox Game Studios. Wild.
Yeah. So it's definitely they definitely flipped some cash for that game to get that game developed.
Yeah. My man C Fresh, my nephew, he goes, Xbox showcases oldest nephew. My man's taking some MMA right now, showing me videos, kicking some ass. I like seeing it. Xbox showcases will just be third-party showcase. Yeah. Basically,
or just time-based stuff, So they'll be like, we're getting it early or whatever because of Game Pass. Because that's usually the tie-in, so that way they can get people to get Game Pass. Hey, you're gonna get these games early.
I definitely suspect that in this, and I said it before, I think not everything is going to be day and date. I think definitely Call of Duty is going to be day and date because you saw those numbers that Microsoft is getting off of PlayStation, so they are going to do day and date on that.
Yeah, 68%, man, fucking nuts.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is they're going to definitely keep certain titles to their chest that are going to be delayed releases, and then some of them like Call of Duty and some of the the wider accepted sort of titles, those are going to be multi.
You know what? When they were saying all those numbers about like the percentage and showing 68, and then even before during the court case showing how PlayStation is dominant in almost all the markets and stuff like that, and I'm like, this is great for Microsoft to show this, because then whenever they want to, let's say like Ubisoft in financial hell right now dealing with stuff, and then Microsoft says, hey, we want to buy them. You can't really throw too much shade at them because look, we don't have anything. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff, but nobody really cares. So we just want to collect stuff. It's just funny that way because we know somebody's gonna buy Ubisoft. Somebody, Apple.
Yeah.
This year I think would be it.
I agree with that. All right, moving on. Some sponsored questions from Mr. Ace Ali. He is sponsoring some more J-Shep questions. All right. Now that Xbox is more focused on selling its games to other companies, do you expect to see quality games at release instead of low quality games and patching games later? That's a industry problem, not an Xbox problem.
Yeah.
That's not going to go away. Like just because they're more focused on selling games doesn't mean like the quality's going to go up. It's an industry problem. Like I was talking to
Spider-Man 2 on PC.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to a colleague about that. I said, and I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel could agree, I am shocked when a game isn't a fucking buggy mess. I'm like, oh shit, this works. This works. Like that's a rare thing now. So that's not really like an Xbox thing. But Adam, like you said right there, Spider-Man PC was a fucking mess for some people. I was talking to Paris, who was saying the shit was crashing on, and my man has a 5090. The shit was crashing on him all the time, So that game was just fucked up. They released a hot fix, so I don't know if it's better now, but like, because I got the code like I think Thursday, then Friday morning hot fix. I'm like, fuck, I was playing it. Thing was fine, but granted, I was playing it on a fucking 1080p, my 1080p monitor, my 3080 Ti, no ray tracing. So apparently the ray tracing is the problem.
And I was playing it on the Steam Deck, and I didn't have issues. I capped it at 40 FPS because instead of the full 90, because I know from the Miles and Spider-Man 1, I know what it can handle, what it can't. So I'm like, I just kept it on 40, don't push too hard. I'm swinging around. I'm like, oh wow, this is pretty good. And then next thing I see all these messages, it should run like crap. What the hell? I'm like, this is not The Last of Us, okay? The Last of Us was horrible on PC, crashing all the time, had all these issues. I was not having it, but then we started reading the notes because I got that email too about the hotfix stuff, ray tracing. It looks like there was a big issue with people with the ray tracing.
There's a ray tracing, yeah. And I'll talk about this later. It ran fine on this, the Legion Go S.
Look at that.
But we will talk about this a little later because we got a question. Again, this is not an Xbox problem. This is an industry problem. That's not suddenly going to go away. Unfortunately. All right, another question here from Mr. J. Shep, Ace Ali sponsoring. Unfortunately, PlayStation 5 has morphed into the ultimate third-party machine, with even Sony's main competitor now publishing games on the platform. Sony no longer has an incentive to push first-party games from their amazing developers. With all that said, what are the chances we'll see more than 2 first-party releases per year from Sony? Here's the thing, and I've said this before. And I think I said this last year, right? Sony hasn't had any competition for years. Why do you think they've just said, fuck it, we're just going to release re-releases. We're just going to put out 1 or 2 first-party games because they don't have to put in the extra work because Xbox is not giving them competition. So the situation is not changing. Think about it. The last time we saw a hungry Sony was during the PS3 era. Ever since the PS4 era, they've been, let's just be honest, and especially this generation, they've been coasting. Because Xbox has not provided any competition for PlayStation for 10 years. Ever since the Xbox One reveal in May, right before E3, it was over. It was over. They never caught up. Xbox.
They just and that's the thing with Microsoft. It's not that they're not trying; it's that the games just aren't good. They have all these games that have flopped and stuff, and it's like, shoot, man, they can't catch a break. But this is what I laugh when I read that you just mentioned this whole thing right here about what are they going to do with these first parties, all that stuff. But yet, there's also people out there that want them to just destroy their competition. Mm-hmm. Well, then you're just going to get more of that then, because if you need competition in every market. That's what keeps it striving. That's what keeps things interesting. If you have a monopoly, then they didn't need to work that hard.
Well, that's why we're getting this generation of PlayStation. They haven't had to do anything because there is no competition,
Yeah.
So there you go. So, so basically the situation's not changing for Sony. They're like, okay, we're just getting their games now. But it doesn't change anything for them because they haven't had any competition. Sony has done, dude, think about it. We had an actual Xbox reveal, the actual console, and people thought, oh, that's kind of cool. They literally, months later, showed off the PS5 logo. That shit got more fucking traffic than a console. Sony hasn't had competition for a decade, bro. It's just the way it is. And this is why Sony's games have been fucking lackluster or non-existent, because they don't have to do shit and they'll still win. And that's something I've been complaining about this entire generation. So nothing's changed, unfortunately. All right, anybody have any thoughts on that?
This is not like
it's
not like a sports team's like, oh well, I have my favorite sports team. It's like, but they're still competing against other teams. If Sony, we said they're the top dog and the whole thing, but if Microsoft was to just wipe their hands, like, we're done, we'll sell off this IP. So then what? Then now Sony really doesn't have to push any harder because they're like, shit, you'll get it when you get it. There you go.
Yeah. You'll like it in tough.
Yeah. Too bad. Then what?
Yeah. All right, man. Moving on, Mr. Alpha Chuck. Another question about Xbox. As Xbox become more of a third-party publisher, doesn't that ensure there will be some form of console going forward? I do not see Sony or Nintendo allowing Game Pass on their platforms if the games are available for purchase anyway. If you want to be in the Game Pass space without A, investing in a PC, or B, playing everything on streaming, you need an Xbox console to play locally. That is a great point. That is an excellent. I hadn't thought about it like that. That is a great point, because what if you don't want to? What if you can't afford a beast-ass PC? What if you don't want to do streaming shit, but you want the benefits of Game Pass? Sony and Nintendo are not going to give you a comparable Game Pass to Xbox, so you would want an Xbox console. That's an excellent point.
That's why I said it. It would probably just be on their site. It'll be still keep making one. You won't see it everywhere, but you can go on Microsoft.com. Pick up yourself, because the streaming Game Pass is great but it doesn't do 4K. It doesn't do a lot of the other bells and whistles. So if you want that full experience, then you're gonna have to get on their hardware.
Yeah, and I guess for the next Xbox, maybe Microsoft. But then again, like we said, Microsoft, the company, has so much money, they could sell these things at a loss and it won't fucking matter to them. But the reason I was going to say, they could just sell.
It's been at a loss.
It's been at a loss. Like, exactly. But maybe, Adam, they could just okay, we're going to build a certain amount of these. And if we run out of stock, we'll have more on our website. But that is a great reason to have an actual proper Xbox for the full Game Pass experience that won't cost you an arm and a leg. And even the PC version is not the full Game Pass experience. You don't get every game. So I think that's a great point, dude. I'm really glad you asked that question. All right. I think we're done with the Xbox stuff for the most part. Still a couple, but we'll get to those when we get to those. Another one from Mr. Alpha Chuck. Which of the following situations makes the wait for a game easier or gives you more faith in development? A, we know a game is in the works, but the team is radio silent, like Wolverine. Or B, game is announced multiple years ahead of release with only tidbits of info shared yearly, like most AAA games. I like it when you hear about a game and then 6 months later it comes out. I like that, But unfortunately,
I like that one better.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There are some other outliers that I kind of like. Like, I remember in a random Capcom fucking document, they're like, we're working on Resident Evil remake. Then you didn't hear shit for 2 years. You didn't hear nothing. And then suddenly at that E3, hey, it's Resident Evil 2 remake. Oh, it's playable on the show floor. Oh, it's coming in October. Dude, that is great. Because you knew the game was coming, but they didn't start hyping you on it. Just like, oh, well, yeah, we got this thing going, you know? But yeah, generally, I know E3 doesn't exist anymore. Generally, E3 announcement, then fall release. That's what I would like. You know, I guess Summer Game Fest announcement now, you know.
Yeah,
Oh man.
I hate when they show something and then there's no date or anything. It's like, we're working on it. When it's coming out, we don't even know. Yeah, or even that Wolverine one.
Yeah.
You know, he's at the bar. I'm like, oh great, I'm waiting for a split. Give me a year or something. They're like, no, nothing. This is it. This is all we got. So I don't like that because then you don't know. You don't know, and then you're always thinking about it, and then what happens? You start speculating, coming with ideas, and then people trolling the developers. Oh, so-and-so said he's working on something else. They canceled the game. It's not happening. You know, it's like, oh, no, relax. You know, then they have to come out and make a statement, and it's like too much drama. It's like, how about this? Show it when you're doing it, and you are releasing it. It's like, all right, boom, here's the game. When's it coming out? Give me a year. Give me at least a year. Don't even have to get it into a month. That way I know, well, it's sometime 2026.
Yeah. I agree. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, mostly the same. I mean, there's no point of talking about games before that they're even close to out. I'm just getting tired of, like, you like watch these showcases and then they show like a logo or trailer or Metroid Prime 4 and then they don't say anything and then suddenly it's like years later and just asking yourself, where is it? You know, like, don't talk about it unless it's done to some degree. You know, unless it's playable, don't talk about it. I think that's going to be my standard. So, yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. Tired of the bullshit. All right, moving on. Mr. Gino Breaker. This question is interesting because we've discussed it in the past, but maybe he missed those episodes. But we'll be happy to reiterate. What is helping Marvel Rivals be such a huge success, and why did it succeed where Concord failed? I know the answer, it's obvious, but I'd love to hear the panel talk about it. Again, we've talked about it, but we will do so again. And I'll toss it to Manny because his sentiments echo mine.
I mean, it all boils down to cool looking characters. You know, it's if you don't have
recognizable characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's also a plus.
But yeah, cool characters.
But,
yeah.
But I think in general that what is the key to these? And you notice that a lot of the characters are sort of veer a little bit away from some of their classic looks. Like Magneto's all in white. You know, there's all little bits of changes around him, but they all look really cool and interesting. Different sorts of shapes. They even took a character like, you know, a lot of people don't really like the way Squirrel Girl was designed in her previous incarnations, and they even made her like cool and fun for people to want to play. So that's the way you do it. Like, if you're not like, I understand the idea that, you know, we want to obviously represent all kinds of different people, but don't take away the cool factor of a character. You can have a character that's a large character and still is just as cool. Look at a game like Overwatch. You know, one of the characters, the Eskimo girl, was one of the most popular characters, and she was kind of a larger character. Same thing with Zara, the big buff woman, you know, in that game. Like, I think, again, you can't forget about appeal when you are doing a game like this, especially when you're not so deeply involved in plot. Because, okay, remember when we thought Concord was going to be sort of like a space adventure, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, this is sort of looking interesting. We got some weird looking characters. But I think when you design for a single player game, it's a slightly different. You're dealing with a slightly different audience. People are a little bit more open to characters that look a little bit weird, especially if you're in a certain world. Like, you know, take a plate like Guardians of the Galaxy. They're not like, they're cool looking characters, but they're also sort of, they're not as sharp striking images. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You for a game like, you know, like for those sorts of games like Overwatch and stuff like that, or I can't remember the other game, Valorant.
Yeah.
You gotta look at them, in an instant, think, okay, hey, what is this? Oh wow, that looks cool. What do they got? Like quick, recognizable shapes. And I feel like a lot of that was definitely missing from the Concord game.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's 100% true. Yeah, and like I've said before, the Concord characters were absolutely ugly and hideous. Nothing to make them memorable. If you put them all in silhouette, you wouldn't be able to distinguish any of them, which is a key to good character design. And you could tell they were made. Go ahead.
I think they do have recognizable shapes, but I would say in general, don't think what's in those shapes is very appealing.
Yeah,
and it's not like
you could tell they were made by a specific kind of committee. We got to hit these kind of characters. Think about it like this, and I've said this before on the show too, right? There's a website, called Rule 34, where basically everything that exists is like Rule 34 is like, if it exists, there's a porno of it. Nobody's made any pornos of this shit. Nobody wants to fuck these characters. Let's just be honest. You see all the gooner shit for Marvel Rivals. Let's be real. They're good looking characters. That's also, bro, there's so much fucking Overwatch like CG porn out there. Like, I know that's weird and creepy, which it is, but that's the shit gamers like, some gamers. Nobody wanted to do that for these Concord characters. Let's just be honest here.
It's all about creating striking, appealing characters. Everybody wants to, especially if a character looks cool, and every single one of those cats look cool. Like, again, some of them veer away from their classic Marvel looks. Like, granted, Wolverine is still wearing some of his colors, but he's not wearing his Wolverine outfit.
Yeah.
He's just wearing a leather jacket with some cool things. Even some of the funky secondary things. Those things, like Black Panther has got a lot of really cool looking ones where he's wearing like a panther head and all kinds of other crazy stuff. And I think, again, like, when you remember that inside of you have to, whenever you're designing, you especially I always, at least in comics and in general, you're designing for a distance, something that's easy to recognize, something that can be seen in an instant. These sorts of characters like this, again, with iconic silhouettes, they work in two levels. There's like always the distance, and then there's always you pull in and you want to get it closer. And I think that's the strength of a lot of those things. Even when they've also decided to sort of change the silhouette from their classic silhouettes, right? Like, you look at something like Psylocke, like, that's also totally different from her classic outfit, where she's more Japanese themed. Even a character like what's his face, Iron Fist. They went a little bit a different direction, but again, iconic looking characters and iconic silhouette. You can recognize them. That what that means is you can recognize a character from silhouette. Like, if they were all blacked out, what that character is. That's the way Mickey Mouse works. That's the way Donald Duck. All of those classic characters. And then you come in. Then there's the second part coming in. So I understand what Concord was going for. I understand that, but I also think that they were also too into the weeds of making these sort of realistic looking sort of characters. There's when you're dealing with games, and I understand that a lot of people say this, like, oh, you want to represent these characters. Yes, you do want to represent all kinds of people and characters, but you also have to do it in a way that you want people to play these characters. You want it. You can't just be like, oh, I like their abilities, right? There's two parts to that, right?
Oh, you mean you like their functions? I will never let that shit go, Capcom. I will never let that shit go. Oh, nobody cared about X-Men. They cared about functions. Okay.
No. Yeah, well, that's them attempting to explain the obvious. And obviously, they couldn't say that shit in public. They couldn't say, "Oh, Marvel won't let us use the X-Men because there's a block on everything X-Men related because they don't want to advertise X-Men and give 20th Century Fox more business."
Yep. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, man. I'll get mad all over again. The people, it's been a long time. Maybe people have forgotten about the X-Men. You know what movie came out that year, Manny? Logan, one of the biggest movies of the fucking year. Who was the star of that? Oh, a guy in Marvel Rivals, Wolverine. Miss me with that bullshit.
And again, like with Marvel Rivals, what did they do? They, they knew right off the bat who, again, peeling characters and then the characters you heard of. Right?
Yeah, characters matter. They're not just functions.
Spider-Man. Yeah, you put in your Spider-Man, you put in your Wolverine, and then, you got your Punishers in there, and then you get your little kind of weirdo characters. You got your Squirrel Girls. Yeah. You got, Moon Knight's pretty well known these days, but, they know him from the show. We had to throw him in there. And then now we're getting Fantastic Four.
Yep, there you go. Everybody loves Sue Storm,
Yeah. Everybody loves Sue Storm. Everybody's likes seeing beefy Reed Richards where he's like the Wall. Like a lot of fun stuff with it. Then, Storm again always has an amazing outfit.
Oh yeah.
You've redesigned her. So it's like I know people want to believe that people just want to just jump onto these things just because they see a thing that represents something about them. But again, you want to be able to capture everything. It doesn't matter, you want to capture, people, everybody who everybody when it comes to these sorts of cool looking characters. I mean, again, like I downloaded that thing. I don't care for shit like that. I don't care, but I think the art style is strong, and I think the character design is fun and interesting, and that's all it really needs to be, right?
Yep, pretty much.
I mean, great, they're good gameplay, but
yeah.
Again, like I think that's the failure of a lot of the. If you look at the previous attempts at these sorts of games, right? You look at Sony's first attempt at doing one of these sorts of multiplayer things. What was it? What the hell was it? The car game. I'm totally blanking on it. It was a launch title.
Launch window. All Destruction All Stars.
Destruction All Stars. Again, forgettable characters in that game. Not even interesting outfits for these things. Number one. Yeah. That one right there. So, like, again, David Jaffe's game, Drawn to Death.
Yeah.
What was the weakness of that game? It's the same shit. It's the same. It's pretty much Overwatch, the same sort of role of Overwatch and those sorts of multiplayer games. None of those characters, even if they do have interesting like silhouettes, they're not really appealing. It's just like, all right, look, it's a punk guy. Hey, look, it's a guy who likes metal. Hey, look, it's a crazy, kid. Like. Really sort of think about these sorts of ideas and try to, again, obviously it's difficult to capture what things will be appealing, but there's certain things that are. And again, what you do is you try to make cool looking characters. And even so, like let's say a design one of your character doesn't work, right? Let's say, I don't know. Yeah. One of the characters is like, I don't like the way that was designed. All right, well, they have alternate outfits that look even cooler. So if you don't even need to play option A.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. All right.
That's it.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in on this?
Well, I mean, Manny covered it, but I'll just say this. How about the designers or developers of Western games don't use said title as a therapy session or self-insertion stuff? How about that?
Yeah, that'd be
I think that would solve a lot of problems, and Manny covered it with the appeal and stuff, but it's like, look at Veilguard, look at Concord, all this stuff. It's like you see it, like, and then these guys can't help to put the pictures of themselves up. Look, I wrote on this, I designed it, and then you look at the character and you look at them and you're like, Same thing with Spider-Man 2. Remember Mary Jane? It's like, why does Mary Jane look like that? And then one of the writers at Sony like, oh, everyone has Spider-Man. It's like, I see you, bitch. Yeah, that's your face. So it's not. These aren't vanity projects. They're not. The problem is the Concords and stuff are not made for us or anyone. It's made for them.
Yeah.
It's made for the guys making it who feel better about themselves, and that's a problem. You're not making stuff for consumers, you're making stuff for yourself. And then have a problem when consumers go, I don't really like this, right?
Yeah, well, I mean that's the age old thing where when it comes to creation, it's like obviously there are portions of yourself that are in these things, but then there's also a point where you become too much of yourself but gets inserted.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be aspects of your character and experience. It's not supposed to be a mirror.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the problem with Concord and all these other games. They're mirrors, and it's like that's not what anybody wants. Like nobody gives a shit about you. They give a shit about characters. Now Marvel Rivals has the bonus of having a huge brand behind it, right? You have known characters, you have comic characters. But if you let the guys from Concord design it, nobody would play that fucking shit, right? They'd be pissed off. If you made the Marvel characters look like the characters in Concord, that game would be a bust. The exact same way. It doesn't matter the brand behind it. So what Manny said earlier is very valid. Appealing characters and appealing scenarios. That's what they want. They want nice designs, and they want to. This is all fantasy. It's supposed to be make believe. It's not supposed to be like inserting like, I don't know, trauma or whatever in there and shit to make you think about like, wow, life sucks. Like, no, you're not supposed to think about that. You're supposed to be like, wow, I'm Spider-Man. Like that, it's supposed to be cool. Yeah. It's supposed to be an escapism.
Yeah, they forgot about that aspect.
I think that definitely like I also think that it's like again like you can work a bit of that stuff in there, but also I think again like if you get too caught up in the weeds of all of that, then you start to water down the statement that you're trying to make, right? The stronger the statement, the more I would say attractive something is, right? And I feel like again, like they could have done something with Concord that was a lot more interesting. Again, like people love the game Valorant, and it has a Valorant. You can't say Valorant has a representation problem because there's all kinds of characters that are in that game. And people love that game. Same thing with maybe not so much Overwatch these days, but there's still those things. And I think that's the biggest issue. That's also part of the thing. I think part of the why a game like Fortnite was able to overtake PUBG. PUBG was a boring what was it? Unreal Engine market game. Where in other words,
generic
they just
models.
took all their assets for generic models, but then you take a game like Fortnite, which obviously they did take those guys' gameplay, but again, you had cool looking characters, even on their own. They look kind of fun. Like, hey, look, it's a bunch of GI Joes. Like, look, it's a Duke guy. It's all this, and then now they have all these other things going in there. Again, fun, appealing characters that don't really need that much to them. Just a body. A cool looking body, right?
There's something that Chris mentioned that I think I disagree with, although I do agree with his sentiment. That's why, Chris, don't take it as me pushing back on what you're saying. But the whole thing with making games for yourself or making the games for the consumer instead of yourself, I'm torn because if you're talking about art, I feel like artists should make things for them. I feel like that's when art's the best. If you're just trying to make art to be popular,
he's talking about self inserts. He's not talking about like something that appeals to you personally. Those are two different things.
No, well, self inserts are in art as well.
No, but he's talking about. Chris, you can speak for yourself, obviously, but he's talking about self inserts, not, hey, I want to create something that I would like.
Yeah. No, that's why I said it's a difference between experience and what Manny was talking about, putting your experience and part of aspects of your character into characters, versus I said a mirror. What they're doing is they are putting themselves in the game and then playing out scenarios, which makes the writer or developer feel better about themselves.
Veilguard, for example. Yeah.
So that's the difference, right? Art should, yes, an artist you should it should be part of yourself, taking yourself, putting on the canvas or whatever. And I'm not disagreeing with. I absolutely agree with that. But that's not what this is. That's not what Concord is, and all this stuff. This is why I said it's like a therapy session for these people.
Yep.
This is not giving people art or giving people yourself. This is putting yourself and all your life trauma and stuff onto a screen for other people and saying, hey, you have to validate my existence. Right? This is the problem with all this stuff, and nobody wants to play that shit.
Yeah.
I think there's also a time and a place when it comes to that sort of stuff too. Like, I think if you're dealing with a narrative game where there's a little bit more of something in there, I think that is a place to play with that, with those ideas. You know, every piece of art does say a little bit of something, even if it is a lot of times, for, you know, I would say the more successful pieces or the more interesting ones are when they do take these ideas and sort of, you know, essentially give you two levels and to enjoy it, right? Where it's like, okay, obviously you do want to make a statement about certain things, but you have your mask, you have mutants, right? You have your X-Men, which are definitely talking about, you know, important things when it comes to, you know, when it comes to
all of it, discrimination, all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's
discrimination
what the X-Men
and all
were
that
all
stuff.
about.
I definitely think, but the thing is that the great thing about something like an X-Men is, even if it is, you know, some of the writers might be inserting some of their own experiences and stuff in there, and they're trying to say something that's very poignant. They're also they're not putting it in your face to where you need to exactly know where it's all coming from. You could enjoy X-Men on the level of, you know, not seeing that sort of connection, right? You could just see, oh, it's just a bunch of cool looking characters that have these, you know, that these guys hate them because they got powers. You know, it doesn't need to be anything more than that. And I think that's a lot of what's going on in a lot of spaces these days, where people want to get the pat on the back for essentially being overly obvious about where their inspirations come from.
It's the blatantness of the whole thing.
It's the blatantness of all of it all, where it's like, you don't. The thing about like art, like what is it about art, is that you should never really tell people how they should enjoy that piece of art. They can pull and derive all kinds of different things from that piece. They can derive what some of the messaging that you might have put in there, or they might you know, derive something totally different that they saw.
The problem is now with social media, people fill in the blanks, and if they have a large enough following, they can get everybody to believe that narrative. And then the guy comes like, "Well, no, that's not what I meant." "Oh, yeah, you did." I was like, "Oh shit! All right, forget it."
And then and also, just like with all art, once it leaves your hand, you can't control how it is perceived as. And I think that's another thing a lot of people now can't deal with, that people, you know, enjoying these things have derived their own things from it. And they're like, "No, I didn't do that. I didn't put that there." So that's why a lot of times they have to put these big giant flags on everything. So, oh, you see that? Oh, right there. That's where I put the thing. You got to walk there. You know, it even goes back to what we remember when a bunch of people in the game industry were coming down on the guys on Elden Ring for putting things in the game that nobody really knows about. That they didn't put these giant spotlights and a flag and a bunch of explosions there to say, "Hey, listen, go down that hole and you'll find a totally different boss." They were allowed the players to essentially explore the world and create their own experiences within that space.
Yeah. All right, let's move on because we still got a lot of questions. Another one from Geno Breaker. Would an anime character hero shooter succeed in today's gaming landscape if done well, like Rivals? Does a game like that not already exist?
There's plenty of games like that. Zenless Zone. Zenless Zone is something like that, ain't it?
Yeah, that already exists.
Yeah, those already exist.
No.
And go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
But then those aren't hero shooters. They're more like
shooters.
They're more like Genshin Impact, where there is no real PvP, so it's not really a hero.
Yeah, it's not a hero
game.
shooter. Yeah,
not a hero shooter.
I think there's a game called like Girls Frontline. anime based. I think that's a hero shooter, or it might be a tactical. I'm not sure.
Again, I don't know offhand, but I'm assuming a game like this already exists. You know?
Yeah, I think within
Like in Japan, I don't know.
Or like Korea may have something like this. I don't think it's that. I think something like that can definitely, definitely exists. I think it can do well.
But then again, if we haven't heard of it, did it succeed? I don't know.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of games that we don't know of that are doing gangbusters.
This is true.
That we don't fucking pay attention.
This
to.
is very true. This is very true.
So
yeah, like those fucking Genshin Impact games, for example.
I checked Steam real fast. There's a game called Street Nova. That's a anime hero shooter. It has 21,664 positive reviews.
Oh, shit.
Came out in late November last year.
How many players are on that shit? You know?
Where do I see that? I'll find it. I'll find this.
But regardless, these games do exist.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know this one. Yeah, you also have a lot of control over what things you can put on the characters too, as I remember, like accessories and things. So yeah,
there you go.
Strinova.
Yeah. What's it called? Shinova?
STRI.
Oh,
Shinova to you too, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Throw names out there.
Yo, man, Shinova you.
Right?
Yeah. Whatever. I'm not gonna look at this shit during the show. All right. All right. Moving on.
Look at it later.
Yeah. I'll look at it later. Syrian Air Force was also joining us in the chat tonight. What's going on, brother? With no red lines for Xbox games coming to PlayStation or Nintendo, what old games from the Xbox 360 or original Xbox would you like to see ported? My picks are Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon. Ooh, those are nice.
Blue Dragon was on Nintendo consoles.
Yeah. So there you go.
Wait, wasn't that the sequel? Like Blue Dragon Plus was on DS. I don't think Blue Dragon itself was ported.
Yeah, but it still was the same game, wasn't it?
No, it was a sequel. Blue Dragon Plus was a sequel. It wasn't the original game.
All right.
Yeah. What about that Vin Diesel game?
Riddick?
Riddick, yeah. People like that.
Oh, that was a good game.
Yeah, people like that.
That was a good game.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an exclusive. It was only it came out on Xbox, but it was essentially released on PlayStation 3 and all that stuff. They've remade that game.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Now I know.
Yeah, no, that came out.
Yeah.
I'd like to say Fusion Frenzy. That was a fun one. That was like American Gladiator, type of thing. When you get into the little ball and you start rolling like the hamster thing. And then my Rockstar Table Tennis, even though it was on the Wii.
There you go.
I still swear, every time I look up, I don't know what's going on with it because it's like Rockstar developed it, but Microsoft put funding on it, but it's still listed as a Rockstar game, but yet they weren't allowed to put it on a PlayStation. It was all this controversy. I don't understand. Maybe it's something similar like what we were talking about, like Dead Rising, so maybe Microsoft just funded it. Anyway, it found its way to the Wii. Remember? Because I remember that was a big deal. I'm like, oh wow, you could play it. It makes sense with the Wiimotes and stuff. Bring that in. If it is now Microsoft type of thing, I'd like to see that. Because you can't play that on PC unless you use an emulator or on a Steam Deck. I use my emulator. I can't. I would love to play that again. I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah. Real quick, kind of back to the last question of Syrian Air Force. It's asking about Jump Force. That was not a hero shooter. That was a anime fighter or arena fighter. I should say.
Yeah, it was arena.
Yeah, so that's very different genre. I looked it up. This game has not been ported to anything else. I want Panzer Dragoon Orta. That's still just stuck on Xbox. So bring that shit back. As a matter of fact, just give me the whole.
Looking at you, Sega.
Yeah, looking at you, Sega. You remade Panzer Dragoon, so let's get the rest of them. I know you lost the source code for Saga, but remake it. Come on now,
I mean, if you get a savvy programmer on that, they could figure the.
They haven't done it for 20 years, Manny. Even the fans.
I mean, I'm sure. I don't know, so have they not? Have they not gotten it working on emulation like a Saturn emulator? Or
yeah, but
like
it's shoddy. It's Saturn emulation. You know how that goes.
I mean, I think they could figure it out.
Well, they have. Well, they probably could. No incentive. Yeah.
It also depends on demand. How much of a like as the
It's
years
just
go
me
on,
and one other guy. You're right. Yeah.
yeah, as it goes on, like people slowly but surely sort of let it flow down the river. So
Yeah, it's just me and Otaku Man still screaming for that shit. You know.
I mean, and that Panzer Dragon port,
No one cares.
remake, and nobody liked it. It wasn't done well. Anyway, for me, like older games, to be honest, like if they could get the Gears of War franchise working,
There you go.
on that PlayStation,
yeah,
and running the way it ran on Xbox, jump in, jump out co-op. That was the game changer for that game. And Adam will agree with that one.
Yeah,
because it's
awesome.
like you could just like I don't know why games haven't been doing this. Like, was it Gears of War and Resident Evil are the two like ones that I remember where it did that. Where in other words, you had multiple characters and they could just jump in as the other guy. Like why
Division? That was the whole thing with the Division. It's like you could just jump in. It's like, all right, you're here.
I mean,
all
like
right,
Division,
let's play.
Division is more isn't that more built on like a multiplayer sort of idea or other people?
Well, you can play it by yourself though. You're not required to have a team. So if you want to run in and gun and do the whole thing, more power to you. You can do it. But if let's say Tony say, "Hey, I want to play," he can just spawn right next to me and he's in there. And it's like, all right, now we're doing it together. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see them figure all that out with the Gears of War franchise. Try to get all that working again. To be honest, I think that's the most PlayStation centric game that Xbox has got. Like that
would be a big seller. That would be a big seller.
And in general, PlayStation players seem to like the third person games. I think that would definitely go over well with the PlayStation fan base.
They could experience the roadie run.
There you go.
It's like Batman to Marvel fans. People, people who Marvel fans that don't like DC characters really like Batman.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else old Xbox games you want on PlayStation or Switch?
What happened to the cat, man? I thought Randy was gonna say Blinks the cat.
Blinks the cat. I did draw Blinks the cat a few weeks ago.
But you just think about him
I mean, nobody gives him any respect. He was one of the, he was a character designed by the creator of Sonic. So he's got that DNA. Microsoft literally had their own fucking Sonic and they shit the bed.
Oh yeah.
Like if you think about it, like all those original titles that they were trying crazy hard. They literally got the creator of Final Fantasy to make a game. They got the guy who made fucking Sonic to make a game for the damn thing.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the other titles that they had gotten on there. Like,
The Xbox guys just wanted their shooters, man.
They just wanted those shooters, but why not bring back Blinks the Cat and put the two Blinks the Cat games and toss them on the Wii? I mean, the Wii, the Switch. Sorry.
A certain Air Force says Conker's Bad Fur Day.
I remember that
Conker's Bad Fur Day was an N64 game. So, I mean, bringing it back, bringing it back to the Nintendo.
That was rare, right?
I think that
was rare. Yeah, which
rare.
Xbox owns.
I think that would be a cool thing to do. Or essentially just bring back a bunch of the classic rare Nintendo games. You having Banjo back on the Switch again. That'd be fun.
It was remade for Xbox. That's right.
It was remade for Xbox. Yeah, why not put those rare titles onto the Switch? Those definitely would fit, right?
Yep. For sure.
To the DNA.
All right. Any other Xbox games? I don't really have a lot because I didn't play Xbox.
Man, I want Cameo to come back.
Yeah. Despite what these guys were saying on Twitter this week, I'm not an Xbox guy at all. So I didn't. The only Xbox I ever owned was the one, and we saw how that went.
I just don't understand these people that you talk of. Like, well, it's like you have to be all focused with like the cone, the dog cone in one ecosystem. Like you can't look.
That's
elsewhere.
how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. They can't. How do they live their life then?
Just on one system.
One type of
and
thing.
That's why they're freaking,
only like vanilla ice cream.
And that's why they're freaking out because these games are coming to PlayStation.
And the thing about it, Lo, like it's like I think a lot of times, especially what's happened in recent I'm going to call it recent years, but like where essentially if you say anything against the console, like let's say you're a PlayStation owner, you just don't like the way some of the shit that PlayStation does, all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're an Xbox.
That's it. Yeah, I'm an Xbox, even though I don't own an Xbox.
To be honest, like as a person that owns any of these consoles, who's a fan, you should call out any shit that you see wrong with your console of choice. You don't just support some shit just because they're the team that you want to play on.
Stupid.
No. If they fuck up, fuck them and don't buy their shit. Bam.
Yeah, I mean, if you like a product or a brand, you should want it to be its best, and you should criticize it if they do something wrong. But these guys are loyalists, no matter what. Nothing. This is why. Yeah, they're retarded. All right, another one from Mr. Assyrian Air Force. With handhelds gaining momentum in 2025, which features do you want manufacturers to focus on, like screen size, longer battery life, etc.? What do you want?
We talked about this before. Well, definitely battery life.
Yeah.
Battery life is always going to be key, but in order to do that, you'll always get something bigger because you need to house this big ass battery. So those like the bigger the battery, the bigger the screen, everything, because it just has to get larger.
Yeah.
Big screen is always nice, but then I feel at some point too big. Like my son.
What do you think of the Nitro Blaze? Have you seen that, Adam? 11 inches.
You see,
it's fucking gigantic, man.
That's when I'm seeing it. My son, so he has the iPad. It's a 10-inch.
Yeah,
and he does, like we talked about, the remote play and all that, and that's cool and all. But man, it's like a big. Like he's not holding it. A handheld you're supposed to hold. He's using a PlayStation controller. Now it's like if you put the controls on the side, if you did one of those like backbone type thing, it would look crazy. It wouldn't look right. It wouldn't feel comfortable. I feel that at some point you just can't go too big.
Yeah.
So maybe the sweet spot is like an 8 or a 9, or maybe the 9's even pushing it. But
to me, I think 7 and 8. Wait, Adam, look at up. Acer, the company Acer, right?
Yeah.
Acer Nitro Blaze 11. Look that up. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, here's the thing. This is the Lenovo Legion Go S. I think we've more or less hit the correct, and apologies for people who are listening. I'm holding it up right now. I think we've kind of hit a point where like the design is good enough. Like this is fine. This works. And I like how most of them have back paddles or back buttons here. That's a good thing. They got the shoulder buttons. I think the design-wise, we've kind of perfected it. So I'm not really looking. And this is 8 inches. I think this is probably as big as you want to get. And I say that because the Lenovo Legion Go, the original one, is 8.8 inches. Even though that was fine, the problem is, because we're not really there with the performance yet. If you want the games to run well, you have to knock the resolution down to 720p. On an almost 9-inch screen, that shit starts looking disgusting.
Yeah, no, you can't.
But on an 8-inch screen, you could still get away with it. So
what's that 1080p? What's the maximum one?
1080p or 1200p. 16 by 10 resolution and all that. I guess this also has like the new Z2 Go processor, which is kind of in between the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme. So performance is just okay. But we've tested this. Battery life is like an hour, 45 minutes, which is what you expect.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that, it doesn't have the detachable stuff. It's just uniform. It has all the ports and stuff that you would want. Very basic design. And I think this is why I don't really want anything else like maybe a kickstand would be nice. The Lenovo Legion Go had a kickstand. I thought that was good. So yeah, have more of those. That'd be kind of good. But other than that, I don't really have anything I want design-wise. I think we've perfected the design. But, I do agree, longer battery would be nice, but we're probably going to need, better chip for that. just for efficiency and all that good jazz. I also like how this one, they updated the D-pad. Now the D-pad's a little bit better for fighting games, which is nice. Before it used to be just the cross or whatever. Now it's like kind of like a Sega Saturn one, which is nice.
And that's the problem. You just brought it up. It's like let's say we get the super chipset, and it's like, you're gonna get PS5 performance on this, and then what's the battery life?
5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Because the current shit, like you said, it's like in under 2 hours. If I'm getting PS5 performance, I'm getting maybe a half hour of Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or you're always playing it plugged in. Like that threw me off when we were talking before a while ago about how do we play our Steam Deck, wherever. And I charge it and I play it on the go. And Brett was like, no, I play where I have it plugged in all the time. Well, that defeats the purpose of it being a portable handheld.
Yeah.
It's like
But in some cases, you kind of have to do that because the battery just dies.
Yeah. If you're gonna do a long session, then I guess that makes sense, But if I'm like in the office, I'm sitting in my desk, I'm like, I take it on my bag, I play with it a little bit. I'm putting in an hour, it'll last that long.
Yeah,
and then I put it back in.
Oh, I know what I want. I want more OLED options. We don't get enough of those. I think
that was that OLED.
No,
that was that OLED.
No,
oh,
because it's supposed to be like a more cheaper model.
Budget model. Okay.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. The only ones I could think of with an OLED screen are the Nintendo Switch OLED and the Steam Deck OLED.
Yeah.
I can't think of any others that have OLED. I don't know if the Nitro has one or not. The ROG Allies though.
The Switch.
The Switch. Yeah, I said that, Brian. I said
he said the
OLED.
Switch.
Yeah. Switch OLED. Yeah. Switch OLED and the Steam Deck OLED are the only ones I could think of.
So that new Legion one, the big one, the Legion 2.
Oh, yes, that will have an OLED. Yes.
That one, yeah. That
will have an OLED. Isn't out yet, but it will. ROG Ally does not have an OLED. It's a great system. I've praised it, gave it a high score.
The Zune HD.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Assyrian Air Force. You know what else had an OLED? The Vita. You're man. He's already pulling it out. Let's go, son.
Oh wait, that's the one. That was the second gen version. That was the one that had the Borderlands.
No, that was the first. The first one is the one with the OLED.
Man, then that's the one. I got like 3 of those.
This is the OG one. This is the OG.
Yeah, the following ones. Yeah, the following ones did not have.
They went.
It's a cheap one.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. It went reverse. It went cheaper for the. I didn't get the Borderlands one.
I think that's a good size. I think that's a good size, to be honest. Not only size, but also the thinness of it. What is that? 5 inches, I believe. I could be wrong about that.
Let me see.
Yeah, it was like 5.5.
Yeah, but that's still. And I wrote an article about this. Not an article. I wrote like a blurb because we did an article about what would you want to see in a handheld. I didn't say, can we get some smaller models too? Like an option. 4.5, right?
Yeah, 4.5.
The problem is that they don't format it for it.
5,
So
yeah,
like the
5.
text will be
It's 5.
small. It'll be really small.
Yeah.
They don't really adjust
That's
that.
right. Yeah, they won't do it because remember, we're not getting games specifically made for these anymore. They're just PC games.
Yeah, it's just PC.
Yeah. So you probably can't do 5 inches realistically anymore. But I think 7 to 8 inches is a pretty good sweet spot. Tony, the Ioneo, they release. Yeah, I know Ioneo. Okay, so there's a company called Ioneo. They release a handheld like every second. It's just ridiculous.
They got so many, and they're super expensive. They're always more expensive.
And I tested one of them, bro. It was okay, but like when you needed to when I updated the firmware for its like launcher, it launched in fucking Chinese. I'm like, I can't read this shit now. After a fucking firmware update. Anyway, what about the rest of you guys? What do you want to see in handhelds that we don't already have?
I have a question
What's up?
towards Adam and yourself regarding battery life. How long should the battery life be?
5 hours.
But then I was thinking about it, like, do you really need it to be 5 hours? Because
I do.
Because that does assume that because that assumes that you'll be sat down playing it for 5 hours, right?
Well, no. When I count 5 hours, I count like the whole playing it, putting it to sleep in my bag, taking it out later and playing it again. At this rate, I play a little bit, put it in my bag, take it out, it's blinking that it's dead because it was in standby the whole time. That's the shit that I hate. I see it with my iPad all the time. I got an iPad
there's something
Pro.
to fix.
You know, it's like, yeah, it's like because they're also doing the updates and stuff on the background while it's in standby. As soon as it sees it at my home, whatever it connects with Wi-Fi, it's doing all this updating. I could hear it in my bag revving. And I'm like, I could turn that off and stuff. But when you start turning and limiting, then the next time you go to play the game, you can't play it because it says it needs a freaking 2-point-something gig update. That, you know, and it's like, oh, great, now this is the time I had to play, and I can't because now I got to wait for this shit to install. So 5 hours for me. That's my sweet spot.
I'm gonna be more realistic, because I know how these things are. I would say if you, and I don't even. This is tough because Brian, you said what I want or what's realistic.
What you'd want to be.
But I can't. Because I keep going through it. Yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
Because I keep going through it, and I'm thinking, okay, 5 hours is what I think would be nice. But then it's like, do I really play 5 hours? And even if I do break up during the day, like, do I really play 5 hours worth of games before needing to charge? Or is it just, I would like more battery life because, again, more battery life.
We'll times it. We'll just try the test of it, right? So have it on a full charge, play it, put it in your bag, and then take it out the next day. Don't charge it overnight. Just take it out and see how much battery life you have, because that's when I notice a lot of it drains. It's just when it's in standby, and it's just annoying to have to shut the whole thing down. And like I said, when I do turn it on, I decide to play a game. There's always an update, right? We all know this. Every game freaking has an update like every other day, and then it's like they're big updates now with these games. And I was like, shit, now I can't play. So it's like I have to leave it on, you know, so that way you can get the updates.
Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna say at a minimum, Brian. 3 hours.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you get 3 hours of like full usage, then I think that is a good point. Because again, if you're playing, well, let's say that you're playing GTA or I don't know, like Spider-Man 2 for 3 hours on a handheld, I think that's a really good spot to be in, because then everything else would be long enough for whatever indie shooter or whatever nonsense you play.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I am saying that knowing, because I can't separate the things I've reviewed. It's very rare when you even get 2 hours out of these fucking things. Very rare, you know. Like when I got the test back for this one, it said an hour and 45 minutes. I'm like, yep, that lines up. All the other ones last that long. The only one that lasted longer was the Steam Deck OLED. That was almost 3 hours. You know, but that's not running Windows. You know, but in an ideal world, I would realistically want 3 hours, because you said, Brian, everything 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. You know, I think 3 hours is. It would be nice. It would be nice if we get that. You know, at a minimum.
I will say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tony, I disagree with you. The handheld has not been perfected.
Okay.
For me, at least for me,
I should add. You're right. I should add almost perfected, because I can't think of anything else. But you know, maybe you want to put an extra.
Tony, I would disagree with that statement. Here's the thing. I feel like at the end of the day, and you would completely agree with this.
Yeah.
The controller is probably the closest thing to perfection in terms of playing video games, right?
Yeah.
You know, whatever it's a DualSense, whether it's the Xbox Series X controller, you know, that's probably the best we can do. You know, that's as far as humanity's gonna go.
A controller, you say? We may talk about this later. Anyway, go on.
And here's the thing, the control, the way that you handle what do you call it, a handheld, it just doesn't feel like that. It doesn't even come close, in my opinion.
Heavy. Yeah.
It's heavy. It's bulky. It's not as grippy as a controller is. It doesn't provide the same feedback as the controller does.
They got grips on this though. It's hard to see. Anyway,
the triggers aren't as good, and you know, there's several things about a handheld that doesn't really make it as great of a gaming experience as just playing with a controller. Well, obviously it's on the go, so it's got its caveats. So I feel like, and I've mentioned this in previous conversations, where the PS Portal, I feel like, is the perfect handheld if it actually played games the way it should. because it has essentially it's just the dual sense. So if it had better means to feel like a controller and sort of streamline the way you play games like that. Also, in terms of handhelds, I agree with the battery life. The Steam Deck, every time I put that thing on I play that. Sometimes I play it for like 10 minutes. I put it on standby, and like 3 or 4 days later, I remember that I remember to turn it on, and it's always low on battery. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the hell? This is ridiculous. So that's another one, and probably one of the most important ones for me is heat. There's no way around it. You play a gaming session more than 30 minutes, it's gonna get hot. It doesn't matter which one you're playing, it's gonna get hot. So a lot of these handhelds would be better if somehow, and obviously this is a difficult task, but if they can find a way to mediate that.
Yeah. Right. Anybody else? Handhelds?
I have one for Rich. If they have Concord available for handhelds, just step to the right direction.
Oh man. All right, moving on here. Ooh, some sponsored questions by a very generous fella named Romudeth. Great guy. All right, first up, this is a Alpha Chuck question. Ooh, it's for me. Tony, can we get your thoughts on any new gaming handhelds you've checked out and tested? Which upcoming handheld is your favorite? Yes, we could talk about more handhelds. So yeah, like I said, this is the Lenovo Legion Go S. This is kind of their more budget-friendly model of the Legion Go. This is the Windows 11 version. Now here's where it gets funny. It's like this is supposed to be the more budget version, but it's $600. But the one I'm really interested in, which is going to be out later, probably around April, is the Lenovo Legion Go S with Steam OS. That's $500, $100 less. And as I learned during CS, I flat out asked the Lenovo, I'm like, why the fuck is this thing $100 more? I suspected it was because of the Microsoft license, and sure enough, I was correct. So basically, you have a machine that has like better specs than the Steam Deck, but with Steam OS, it's going to be fucking great, Obviously, we need to test it. So that's going to be dope. So that's the one I'm looking forward to the most, for playing. But the one I'm most curious about is, like I mentioned, the Acer Nitro 11. I want to see if it's possible to comfortably play on a handheld that's fucking big. 11 inches. It's massive. It's fucking huge. It's huge. The MSI Claw 8 AI plus that, all this fucking names. That's out right now. Also, what's different about that one is, like, from the other handhelds, is that it has a an Intel chip inside of it. It didn't really work very well for the original MSI Claw, the Intel chip inside of that. But the new version has like a more like the latest version of the Intel Ultra Core. What is it? Intel Core Ultra series. Fucking Intel, get your shit right. You're becoming like AMD now. It's annoying me. But yeah, it's the second generation of their Ultra. I got to look at the test numbers on that one, see how it fares. But I do remember seeing like some initial stuff, and it's like what you expect: an hour and a half of battery life, and so performance. Yeah, so yeah, the one I'm looking forward to the most is definitely the Lenovo Legion Go S with Steam OS. I'm curious to see the performance and battery life. And the reason I say that is because my manager, Jason England, he took a ROG Ally X and installed Steam OS, got rid of Windows 11. Guess what? 25% better battery life and performance. Ain't that something? Steam OS, man, I'm telling you. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know what else. Like, I'm still waiting Probably not gonna get it this year, but I'm still waiting for Alienware to do something because they had a prototype of a handheld years ago, but it doesn't seem like they're gonna do anything on that front because I went to a Dell event. If you guys don't know, Dell owns Alienware, and several people.
They don't own them anymore.
No, Dell owns Alienware.
Oh yeah, I remember when they bought them.
So, and people ask like, "Hey, there's handhelds out. Where's yours?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, we're still looking at the market. We got to see if how it's possible to do these." It's like, what do you mean how possible it is? These things exist. Aya Neo makes one every second. Like, whoa, what are you talking about? So that was a little bit of a PR answer, which I didn't appreciate. But yeah, Alienware, Dell, they're like other than HP, I guess, they're like, one of the few people, like big manufacturers that doesn't have a handheld. Lenovo has one, MSI, Acer. I wouldn't be surprised if HP is cooking up something, So we'll see about that.
If Alienware releases a handheld, that shit's gonna have RGBs.
Oh, you already know. I mean,
it's gonna have that little alien.
It's gonna have more.
I mean,
this does too, like around the the edges here and shit. The thumbsticks. Oh, hey, look at that! You got to go through the window sign-in bullshit. But yeah, it has like RGB there, But you're right. It's like Alien will have like even more. And the thing will look like an alien head. Look at that! I gotta go put in my password. Gotta log in, bruh. Good the bullshit, Mr. Davis.
Welcome to the future.
Actually, I want to show you guys the Legion Space launcher. But look, it's just Windows fucking, desktop. It takes, what the fuck? Oh, yeah. Try Microsoft Designer because that's what I want to see in my fucking handheld. Come on, guys. Like you have Windows 11 just running in the background,
need to make
eating
a light
up.
version of that.
Yeah, they do. And by the way, this thing's still not. I'm not gonna waste your time with that shit. All right. Another question. Another sponsor one. This one is from Lego Bro. When will game publishers take control of their games and not let controversial individuals in their game studios ruin their games? It seems like a lot of games that tend to be controversial losing a lot of money. Yeah, I mean, we've seen that. All these fucking idiots just like shitting on the fans and stuff. And it never bodes well. Dragon Age Veilguard was one of them. Telling people.
I feel like this comes from the top, though. We've
talked
about this.
Exactly. Yeah, they hire these people.
Yeah, they hire. It's developers saying we want XX, this, that, and put it in the game and make it so, and then they do it. So
yeah, but he's talking about the people who go online and start berating fans. Calling them names and shit.
I feel like that's out of frustration. They put a lot of time and years in a project. I mean, it could be anything, and then somebody says this is shit. I'm like, how dare you say that? How dare you?
There's an old saying in art in general.
Shut the fuck up.
And it's hard to do. No, it's don't become emotionally involved with your work. When you go too far, it becomes too personal. Because again, like there's the hard lesson, and this comes from a person who's made shit for a long fucking time. Obviously, there are things that you're not going to like that people say, but you have no control over that. You have no control over the narrative about your game. So the best thing to do, go out there and say, I hope you like it. That's it. That's all. And that was the old way of promotion, right? We hope that you like it. And then later on, maybe like, hey, you know what? Maybe we misjudged the audience. You'll hear that later on, right? Like you'll like, like a famous director would say, yeah, maybe I wasn't, didn't hit it right this time, or somebody else says, it's not, maybe it wasn't something that was the original audience. But it looks like right now people
that doesn't happen. Now it's the audience is to blame. They didn't like it. It's their fault. You see way too much of that. Way too much.
Again,
of that.
You are trying to attract an audience, and if the audience isn't there, then it's not the audience fault that you didn't do, that you didn't attract them.
But that's who they blame.
What you were looking for, but it's not. I don't think it's general audience's problem. If when it comes to these sorts of things, you don't know if something is going to be a success. Those guys who made that Dragon Age game, were they so blind?
Yes.
to their or unaware of what they were doing, that they're just like, oh, well, we put it out, it's got Dragon Age on there, people are gonna love it.
Yeah, that's what they thought.
That is a false way to think.
It's a Mass Effect Andromeda type of situation.
Again, it's just because something has a familiar name, just because of all these different factors. Kojima, like, he could put out a total fucking bomb with Death Stranding 2. Right? People could totally not like that game and not buy it. Nothing is set. So again, obviously there's certain things that, certain factors that can maybe give you a better chance of success, right? But nothing is ever set. And you should never fool yourself into thinking that anything that you put out, no matter what the fucking higher ups are saying, oh, it's going to be a surefire win. Fuck that shit. Be like, okay, there's two things that you can be, there's only a few things that you can be assured of. That you did the work, and then you put it out there. Everything else, just leave that alone. Again, it's like throwing a bottle, a bottle into the ocean with a message inside of it. You have no control as to where that thing goes. No matter if you figured out how to map all the currents that'll take it. Okay, I'll put it in this spot, and it'll give me a better chance of getting to some place where somebody can save me. Regardless, you don't know what's going to happen as soon as it leaves your hand. So don't even bother.
Well,
you did it. You did the work. That's the hardest thing right there.
And that's the issue with social media and the way the world is working right now. Everyone has to have an opinion. Everyone has to say something about everything. So for example, when you get a controversy and something that you work on is in the headlines and people are shitting it or there's backlash, people always feel the need to respond for some reason.
Yeah.
And it might not even have anything to do with the reasons why they were involved. It's just blanket statements. Let me generalize a lot of critiques and place this on something, and then just be on defense mode. Everyone does it, from a shitty Ubisoft developer to fucking Elon Musk. There's so many people that are insecure and just lay out on people to diffuse on whatever, whether it's good criticism, like what the issues that people were having with not Scalebound, fucking Veilguard, or whatever other game. And it's just, we live in the period in social media where people just feel like the need to revolt on anything, and it doesn't really serve a purpose. You're not really resolving anything by doing that.
And just need to learn from Johnny Depp. He doesn't watch any of his movies, so no one can bitch. We're like, why'd you do that? I don't know. I didn't see this shit. So whatever.
I mean, it's not a factor of watching your own movies. It's really
that's a good idea.
Yeah, he doesn't because he doesn't know how they edit. He films some stuff he doesn't know. It's like, well, why'd you do this thing and the jump in the light? I didn't do that shit. I don't remember.
I think a lot of it is it comes from the fact of, and again, it comes from the developers. Because games take a long time to do. 5 years, right? You put in 5 years of work on this thing, and you want something, but beyond just the check. You know what I mean? And you see it happen all over the place. I put all this effort into there, and then I didn't get anything for it. I didn't get any, I didn't get any acclaim. People don't think it's good. I think that's where a lot of this headiness sort of comes from. But I think the best way to be about this is one thing. There's only a few things that matter, and that's just you. Again, you put your efforts into it, and you got to work with probably a bunch of people to solve this crazy thing that is creating a game on or something on a mass level, and that's at least the way I've sort of dealt with the things that don't come out as successes for myself. I worked on Contra World Core. I'm proud that I did. And it's not because the game didn't do so well. The game wasn't received very well. It's not any of that sort of shit, because that's out of my control. The part that I did enjoy, and the part that I really cherish, is the fact that I got to work with these people behind the scenes. I got to solve the problems. That's the things that matter to me. And okay, whatever. It didn't do well. Nobody liked it. It controlled bad. They went the wrong direction. Live and you learn. Konami's making a Silent Hill remake right now. That's it.
That's why I feel bad with that Concord. What was it? How many years? We talked about it. It was
8 years,
lot, right?
8 years.
8 years. Think about 8 years of work. It comes out, and within not even a few months,
no, Adam. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Well,
damn.
Well, yeah,
yes,
that hurts.
Again,
that has to hurt.
For that, for Concord, that situation is they weren't getting it. They weren't really getting it done. Maybe I don't know. I'm speculating. They weren't getting it done. But when they got on to Sony literally threw a bunch of bodies at it to get it out. That's an insane thing to do, and I think it's very fast. It's an insane thing to do, and it's a big thing to do about that to solve that problem. But I also feel like that maybe on Sony's side it wasn't the best route to go. Maybe Herman should have put his resources into something else instead of this one. But then again, maybe they're under the gun. Maybe they're like, hey, we need something to fucking launch in this window. Let's get this Concord shit working, so we at least have something. I don't know, but again, obviously, you want to have success for the things that you do out there, but not everything. Again, nothing's surefire.
If you're releasing something for public consumption, your responsibility is to cultivate a fan base to support you and support the developers who make the game, not to fight any other backlash that really doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's like, well, people are gonna have criticisms from a game. They always do it. That happens to every game. Sometimes more than others. But if you genuinely develop something that you feel is worth a damn, then you should work on cultivating, a fan base.
It's a difficult one because again, like you can't cultivate something if you're just you've worked your ass off on this thing. I think the fan base, the cultivating the fan base comes a little bit later. Once the thing is out, you start to go upon jump on that. Obviously, when you have like Steam Greenlight or what, I can't remember the Steam Early Access stuff, where you can kind of do that, where you can have a little bit more of a back and forth with people to sort of gauge a little bit better what people might want. That's why what was it? A couple of those games that went through there, they came out pretty well because they were listening. But again, you can't help. Go ahead.
When I mean cultivate a fan base is when you release a product, what you're supposed to do is sell the product. At the end of the day, it's your way of selling it. Like
sell the product. Yes.
You already have the artwork, you already have the animations, you already have the design, the gameplay, everything. The what do you call it? The animations. So you're just trying to sell the product to someone that's going to buy it. And if they don't, it's the culture wasn't feeling it. That's pretty much it. There's a big enough fan base somewhere to support your thing, whether you believe it or not. There's not the gaming public is not a monolith. There's not just one.
Not
type
enough
of
people to
gamer
support Concord.
I think again, but I also feel like when it comes to those factors, you don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, you can try to do your best. You put your best advertising. You try to do the thing that you do, and it just doesn't hit. I don't think it's the fault of the public that it didn't do well. I think it's just it didn't capture anybody, and I think people need to just move on instead
the culture
of
wasn't feeling it.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
you
it.
you didn't read the room. But anyway, we're last thing because we're going in circles.
Again,
yeah.
Oh yeah. But one last thing. Again, I feel like just try not to get too, just because you spent a bunch of time, and it's hard not to become emotionally involved or fully, in the thing that because you spent so many hours on it. At the end of the day, just let it go and move on to the next thing. That's how all the old filmmakers used to do it. They didn't hit it that time. All right, we'll try another one. We'll do another one, right? And I feel like that's the way you got to look at it. Live and learn, move forward.
Yeah, Brian, what's up?
I do have two things I want to add. The first one is I do think there is some sort of weird cultural difference between Eastern and Western developers because I've not seen Eastern developers act like Western developers do in terms of just how they act about their games. It's very strange. I mean, when's the last time? Okay, take Dark Souls for example, or the Souls games. People always have their complaints about that to some degree. Whether they're justified or not, I don't care. But people always have something to say about those Souls games. And yet, I've, to my knowledge, I've not seen any developer on that team ever come out and just yell at people that have a different opinion compared to Western developers that would just do that. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's whether Western people are more narcissistic or what. I have no idea. But I think there's that. And just to throw it out there, because I think this is very important, No Man's Sky, the developers behind that team, they got dragged down to the bottom of the earth and got kicked by everyone. And
including
yet
us.
Still,
this is true.
Including us, because again, they made a game that was really bad on launch and had lots of issues, but they literally went radio silent for like 6 months after launch. Said nothing on social media. Even people were complaining, saying that these people aren't responding to us. And yet, ever since then, it's been update and update and update, and they've managed to turn themselves around. So I think that also needs to be studied by lots of developers as to what did they do differently? Like, how did they respond to that situation? And let's learn from that, because that seems to be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Heads down and solve the problem.
Yeah,
That's
don't berate the fans.
That's
their
that's
fault.
a great example.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. All right, let's move on because we still got a few more questions here.
Yeah, boy.
All right. Another great person is sponsoring some questions.
Who's this?
Mr. Lunar Diaries, man, great guy. Another longtime fan. All right. First question. Now, this is a question we were asked before, but we didn't get into it because Chris wasn't here, and he knows this shit more than some of us here. Two questions actually for Chris for some reason. Very interesting. All right. Will the recently imposed tariffs affect the price of games and consoles? So, Chris, for no reason, you could answer this one.
Well, it might affect certain products, but not everything. I don't think, for the most part, consoles no, because they're those. I mean, even though I think the tariffs, what is it, 25% on
10
China?
for China, 20 and 25 for Mexico, Canada, type of thing.
Yeah,
but definitely 10 for China, which is the only one that really matters at this point.
Yeah, they have to be very careful with that, because the game with tariffs is to rebalance who pays out that excess federal tax. Because if you pass it on to consumer, which is what a lot of people are worried about, that we'll eat the cost of the tariffs, right? But the thing is that if people just stop consuming that product, then the tariff, then who loses out is the country that has it imposed, right? So you'll source the stuff from somewhere else that isn't tariffed, or it's cheaper. So I don't think it'll affect consoles and game production, like the Mexican tariffs, because a lot of DVDs are pressed there and stuff. So you could say like, oh, well, some physical media will increase in cost. Well, I don't think we'll end up eating those costs, because the distribution will change. It might go up a little bit, but then it's going to change around, because if the tariffs continue to impact Mexican products, then it's like somebody else could go, oh, we'll just press DVDs in Vietnam. Okay, well, that solves that problem, and then the price will come back down. It's a matter of market execution and all that stuff. So I don't think you'll see that kind of stuff, the tariffs affecting or what we care about in video games and stuff. I don't think you'll see that. There's other stuff it could affect, like I think the auto industry, that's questionable. If you were saying like the price of cars or car parts, I would say like, yeah, probably it's going to affect that.
Or TVs.
And certain like
soybeans and things like that. I remember.
I want to read this real quick. This is kind of interesting from the CTA. They're the guys who produce CES. This is their take on it. For the tech, reading this off of Tom's Guide, by the way. Shout out to my website. The CTA says the prices for laptops and tablets could increase 46 to 68%, while video game consoles could jump by 40 to 58%. Smartphone prices are predicted to jump as much as 26 to 37%. However, this data is based on estimated tariff percentages, including a 60 to 100% tax on goods from China. And the final numbers in Trump's executive order were lower, with China getting a 10% additional tariff on top of those already implemented 25 to 100% tariff on goods already imposed on China, as laid out in an article. All right, so that's a way bigger number, All
right, well, that's a huge number, but see, the problem is like the market backlash from that will be that people won't buy that product. If you're putting Xbox and PlayStations on the shelf that's 60% higher than what's currently on the shelf, people are just going to stop buying it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's going to hurt. Who's it going to hurt? China. They'll have to cut.
Well, that hurt.
Their
it's going to hurt the fanboys.
It's a trickle down effect. It hurts everybody.
Yeah. So, but it's that they can't sustain that, so they'll have to lower their export cost or do some cost cutting in order to eat that cost, so that they can put stuff on the shelf at the price or close enough to it that they can get sales, and that's why I don't think those numbers are realistic, because
they seem kind of excessive to me.
Yeah, they're excessive. Yeah.
It's a cat and mouse game. It really depends on who budgets first, because sometimes tariff works, sometimes tariff don't work, and it just depends on if the end consumer is affected, if a certain business sector is affected, and
but the cat and mouse is who's the biggest consumer of said product, right? If we are, let's say, for Canadian exports, right? I think almost 80% of Canadian exports are purchased by the U.S., so they are hurt by us not buying their products. If it's like, if the fucking maple syrup goes up by 100%, I'll just won't buy it, right? And then it's going to hurt their economy, right? It's because where else they export it to a few other places, but you're eating into 80% of your market. So 80% of your market share has now been impacted, right? So who's going to fold first? They'll fold first in that case. In China's case, was the biggest consumer of their products. Yes, they export to Europe and all sorts of places, but I will guarantee that we are the biggest consumer of Chinese goods. So if we stop that, if we stop consuming at that rate, their economy is impacted, and they will have to decide how to either eat those costs or reduce those tariffs.
Well, that's a big part of it, though. Can we stop? Because like 80% of everything that we have is made in China at some point, whether it's the bottling or caps of other devices or home goods and things. It's a trickle down. It's all over the place. So if, let's say, they just say, all right, that's it, plastic costs more, then it could be your new cleaner, your whatever stuff that you need for your business you can't get, or you're going to have to mark up the value, and it's just going to be very expensive. So it gets messy. It gets messy. Yeah. I remember last go around they did this. Remember, we let the soybeans. Remember, and that whole thing put the tax, and then China was like, "Well, forget it. We'll get it from Brazil." And our farmers were hurting bad when that happened, and to the point we had to give them money. It was a mess.
Yeah. By the way, Kuel, shout out to him. He goes, U.S. has chip fabrication plants that are ready to go. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up. Like, can't we start making some of this stuff here?
That's what I was going to say.
I think that's the plan. A lot of that stuff. Yeah, that's the plan. Ultimately, it's like, and even Canada now, they're like, okay, we're going to start making shit in the U.S. now.
It'll spur domestic production of whatever we are getting tariffed on a great deal. So yeah. There's that, and then you could also purchase from countries that don't have the tariff on. It's not like there's not bottling and plastic production, whatever, in like India or Vietnam or the Philippines or Brazil or anywhere else, right? We'll just start consuming it from there. So you'll have middlemen start purchasing from other markets to fulfill that need and lower the cost.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, like TSMC started this huge like 2 or 3 fabs in Arizona or something to make chips. to make ships here.
They're so
I think
upset.
Those
Like,
fabs sound fabulous.
they sound fabulous.
In general, the biggest issue with all of this is the fact that, and the pandemic showed all of this.
Oh yeah,
Laid
yeah.
it all bare for us. We shouldn't be dependent on other countries.
On one specific.
Oh yeah,
You're telling me that one country goes, and it just proved this for us. One country goes down because of some event, whether that be viral or some other crazy shit that goes on over there. You're telling me that country goes down, and then all manufacturing essentially gets shuttered on the planet.
Yep. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
And they said, and analysts have said this was a problem for a long.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they keep doing it because it's cheap, and then it was always pissed me off watching Shark Tank. Did you ever watch Shark Tank? Anybody ever watch Shark Tank?
I know Shark Week.
I know.
Whenever these guys would come, developers, and they're like, or whatever product it is, they're like, yeah, I want to make it here in the United States, and then the sharks, which are these wealthy people, they're like, no, forget it. It's got to be made in China. It's like, why? Because it's cheaper. You want the most profits. It's not all about profits. I want to have things made here. I don't want to do. Then I'm out. And that hurts because it's like you're seeing it yourself. Here it is. We're trying to produce things here, but you're saying the cheapest place to manufacture this is in China. It's a bad business. That's the thing. It just sucks. It sucks.
No, I agree. Kuel says we're trying to push manufacturers to make products in non-adversarial countries. The one country where all our plagues have come from. By the way, the CIA is now saying, oh, it was maybe perhaps made in a lab in Wuhan. Oh, we weren't allowed to say that before. Very interesting how that works. I wonder if, what? Let me not get political.
We'll stay out of that.
Yeah. But very interesting how things change. Again, there's other ways. Like we could build shit here. We go to other countries where these tariffs are in place. But I agree. Can we? If we need to go to other countries, because me personally, I would just like, can we just do it here? Fuck all these other countries. But if we have to, can we spread it around a little bit? So if one fails, it's kind of like stocks, right? You don't want to put all your money on one fucking stock. You want to diversify, So can we do that at least? Because it's just stupid. It's like, dude, if China decides, fuck it, we want Taiwan now. Like, bro, so.
Well, I mean.
All comes down to money.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, certain companies can't use the fact of because some sort of manufacturing problem happened in another country and we can't get enough graphics cards out there on the field.
Nah, man, NVIDIA, what's up? By the way, Carlos, I heard Mr. Jensen met with Trump today, so very interesting.
Oh, everyone's meeting with Trump.
I wonder if Jensen, gave him a jacket.
Or he gave him a chip.
Mr. Trump, I got something for you. 5090 right here. Oh, that's good. That's good.
What does this do again? Can I stick this on my phone?
You know what he said? Carlos, you know what he said when he saw the graphics card? It's huge.
Huge.
It's again, like, you can't, you wouldn't be able to use silly fake artificial scarcity bullshit tactics like that to essentially try to increase your to increase the buyership on it. Oh, hey, it's limited. Oh, there's not enough out there. Bullshit.
Speak on it.
Everything's limited.
Yeah,
limited edition. Limited.
That's bullshit.
At the end of the day,
that's all fucking mind games. They play.
That's it. It's just to get it now. Get it now. Yeah, gotta get it now. It's limited edition.
That game.
Yeah. Anyway, Carlos, go ahead. Because again, we still got more questions.
Just going back to the overall conversation. Yeah. How many decades have we been talking about, and not just within this podcast, but just in general as Americans, be like, wouldn't it be better if things were made in the U.S.?
Yeah, we've been talking about that forever.
And it's just something that's not going to happen because it costs too much compared to other places, and people want to make money, man, and that's just what makes the world go round.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
all right.
And then people end up being the expendable elements, right?
And that's why I laugh.
All this talk of AI and all the other shit. Just a bunch of rich people essentially saying that we should move to these things to cut down costs.
And that's why I find it funny when I hear all this stuff. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this for America. We're going to do this. Well, tell the big corporations, because they don't want to do this for America. They
do
want to
wanna
name
do it.
so it's like, who are you telling this to when everybody, all the people of power that have the money are like, yeah, we'll do that. No, we're not. We're everything's still being
No, we're
made
not.
Yeah, they
overseas.
go
We're
some
not
other
making it.
bullshit
We're gonna
country.
make it
Yeah.
overseas. Yeah.
All right, man. Another question here. Ooh, this one's specifically for Chris. Chris, when you worked at Nintendo, did you ever notice that they shifted their first party games to specific dates to avoid clashing with second party or exclusive releases coming to the platform? An example would be moving Kirby to make room for an exclusive Ace Attorney game.
That's interesting. There were dates moved around, but there was a lot of kind of market research going on, and then like what was that puzzle game? There was this puzzle
Popular
game.
Trek.
Ace Attorney,
No. Well, Ace Attorney, not
Professor
Michael
no.
Jackson Moonwalk.
Professor Layton.
Well, Professor Layton's second party, and they have to consider those heavily, just like Advance Wars or Fire Emblem, right? They have to consider, because Intelligent Systems, while it is kind of part of Nintendo, that would be considered second party as well. But all those titles are given consideration when doing releases. Legendary Starfy, Kirby, all that stuff. But if he's asking if they ever shifted?
Yeah, like a first. Yeah, it was a puzzle game, that Toad game by any chance?
Captain Toad?
Captain
No.
Toad. Okay,
No. There was one I remember, like I was in meetings about, and let me look it up.
No, but yeah, that's a harder question.
Puzzle and Dragons. I think that was it.
Okay.
And there was a Nintendo specific one, and they were putting Mario in it, and that one had its date moved around, but that was like a third party game in Japan that had a deal with Nintendo, including Nintendo characters, and they were moving that date around. Because I think there was another Mario. There might have been a Mario baseball or something, and they moved the date around. So preference is always given to the first party games, right? Those are all strategically planned. So I think with second parties, there's leverage to push dates around, to move dates or push them off. Professor Layton had that happen. I don't remember if the second or third game had its date pushed off. Yeah, so there's always considerations around that. So there's not overlapping, clashing, and so they can pace releases better.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Some insider stuff there. All right, next up, couple questions here from Mr. Black Metal Gamer. What is the best designed open world in a game? Not what is the best open world game. What is the best designed open world in a game?
Ooh.
Maybe I'm understanding wrong. So, like, what's the best open world design in a game?
In a game,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So yeah, like it may
Or
not
what
be
is the best designed open world in an open world game?
Oh, okay.
Sleeping Dogs, everything, it was spread out, but then not too spread out. So it's easy to get to point A to point B around this big map. It didn't really stretch out like, I would say like a Red Dead Redemption, but yeah, they go on these long trips.
Yeah, to get
some, and big open spaces. And yeah, there was stuff to happen, but still, I like to just run to one spot and not have to rely on a car or do some crazy parkouring around mountains or something. And watch Sleeping Dogs, you didn't have to do that. And everything was really densely packed, but yet still big, That was cool.
Yeah.
I'm not too big on open world games, but I did like the design of Gravity Rush's open world, where
especially the first one.
The second one, I would say when all of the worlds combined. So where you got when you finished the game or you got that first ending, it literally opened up the old locations from the first game, including the areas from the sequel. And I thought that was actually kind of a cool thing, and the way the placement of the different levels, the different open world spaces, also sort of gave you an idea of class, more so in the second game. Where, in other words, all the way up at the top was all the rich people, and all the music is sounds like lifestyles of the rich and famous. And then if you fall all the way down, you get to the like slums.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then in the space in between is the area that feels like the Caribbean.
You know what's crazy about that? And I played the game on the PS Vita. Shout out to the Vita, second reference.
Mhm.
I was when you get to those slums in the bottom, like I was just shocked by the depth of the game.
Yeah, it was a lot.
How deep it like it
Yeah.
felt it, especially if you jumped off of the rich place on in Gravity Rush 2 and fell all the way down to the bottom the slum area. And then even in the first game, they had it even a space even lower than that.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, this one's a little tough because like I have two in mind, but I don't know if they count as best design. I just like them. Red Dead.
I mean, that could
yeah.
just be it.
Yeah, like Red Dead Redemption 2, just because it feels like believable. And I also do like that, even though it's so big and sprawling, it is designed in a way to get you where you need to go. Yes, it may take long, but you know, it's a Western game. What do you expect, right? But I never felt lost or overwhelmed, despite how big it was.
Also, there was great stuff to find. There was great secrets all over the map.
Yeah. And it wasn't just constantly bombarding you with shit. Like somebody kind of did an average, usually in games, like every 3 minutes, like an open world game, something's happening every 3 minutes or so. This one is 8 minutes. You're gonna go stretches without anything happening, but when you do get to this stuff, it feels kind of substantive. But yeah, I do like the fact that it's just big, but I always felt like the game subtly led me to interesting things, you know? And then the other one, this is purely just aesthetic, Cyberpunk. Like that shit, like there's no other open world game that gives you that Cyberpunk world. Like I'm playing this shit, I'm like, yo, this is fucking RoboCop. This is crazy, you know? And you know, you're driving around, oh, let me look up, oh shit. Like granted, you can't really explore any of this stuff for the most part, but it just feels real. You know, so those are, I know he just said one. Those are my two answers: Red Dead Redemption 2 and Cyberpunk, which is interesting because they're both completely opposite. You know, one's like actual real world landscape shit, and the other one's like cyberpunk dystopia. You know,
I was out that Cyberpunk was going to be my answer.
Yeah,
even though shout out to Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But we always talk about Elden Ring, but Cyberpunk. Yeah, I echo everything you said, Tony. I feel like that's one of the best, open world designs where you just feel immersed with the world. Like it's crazy. Like in what I always remember there's one mission in the Japanese district.
Yeah,
and it's like you're just walking, like following a character, and it just feels so freaking real, man. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just so well thought out, and it's even a little bit vertical, like you mentioned. You can't go everywhere, but there are some parts where you can go up, or you can go different places that is just not in the first floor or whatever of the level. And then you also have the Badlands type of places too as well, which is pretty neat. So yeah, Cyberpunk for me, I feel like is probably one of the best.
All right. Anybody else? Best designed open world in an open world game. All right, we'll move on. What are great games with terrible writing? So the actual
Resident
game
Evil is the easiest one.
Yeah, it's easy.
Resident Evil is the easiest one.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit of like it's got a good premise, but it's just like a dumb game. Like as far as plot wise.
Well, you talk about I wonder what he means by writing, like because I'm thinking about like line delivery, but it's like everything.
It means the game is fun to play, but the story is dumb. That's
the story's kind of weak. Like it's a like Resident Evil, it's a fun game, but that story is just it's kind of like B movie silliness, right?
But that was the point,
like
too.
I mean, I think partially it's the point, and then also the fact that it, I think it's also just the just the language barrier deal. Like
Yeah.
where you're dealing with two different things. They're winking and nodding, but also not having a full
grasp
possession of the grasp of the English language. So you get a little bit of that weirdity in it.
Some people could say some of the Metal Gear ones, the stories of kind of out there in the later ones.
I wouldn't say that they're bad. I think they were, they're well done.
I kind of want to hone in on this because I think we're confusing plot with writing. Those are two different things.
No, definitely. I would say the writing and definitely in Resident Evil is not good. But it's a fun game, and it is what it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets you to the next thing. It has enough information to keep you interested, but it's not.
It's not. The writing is not going to destroy you. Yeah. But this, it's a tough one because usually bad games have bad writing, and so forth. But it's kind of rare when it's like a good game with bad writing. That's a little bit rarer.
I mean, you liked what was it, Blue Stinger? That was a game that you.
That game was bad. That was a bad game. That was
just bad. All right.
That was a bad game. Yeah, it's a tough one.
A lot of the Final Fantasy games, the later ones. Yeah,
some of the writing is kind of questionable. Like even my beloved 13. Some of those lines, I'm like, bro, I don't know about these lines right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also that could also be a part of issue with the localization.
Yeah, but I'll count it.
Too, what I had I'm just totally blanking.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's a tough question.
I would say definitely a lot of the early PlayStation games,
FMV games.
A lot of them FMV games. Well,
but there were mostly bad games too.
I mean, I can't. I really liked the game Double Switch.
Yeah.
The full motion video game. The plot is kind of stupid, but it's a fun game, in my opinion.
Night Trap also. It was vampires coming in and trying to get these girls.
Yeah, Night Trap. Yeah, Night Trap's a fun show, like a fun showy type of game. But yeah, it's kind of a dumb idea. It's like here a bunch of vampires capture all the hooded vampires.
Yeah, that's fun. All right, move on here. Good question because it's one of those questions you kind of have to research.
We got to look into that one a little more.
Yeah. All right. Last two questions of the night from Mr. Lego Bro. Which games have the best or worst titles? So it could be either or. I think worst titles is any of those crazy Japanese games with like 50 million titles.
Oh, I will say this: Metal Gear Solid is the stupidest name ever.
Yeah, that is a dumb name.
Name. It's a dumb name. It's fun. It's both stupid and fun at the same time because it's obvious. Like what Metal Gear? What is that?
The best for me is Doom.
Just Doom. That's the best one. Doom. Yeah, there you go.
That's it. I was like, what happens? You're in hell. You're fighting demons.
You're Doom.
Yeah. Yeah, any of those fucking Kingdom Hearts offshoots,
Oh, yeah, 21 and a third.
Yeah, shit like that. Like, what are we doing right now,
Well, anything involved with Tetsun and Moria is also going to be very weirdly just odd like that. I would also say
here we go. I found this too. 10 best video games with the worst titles. Kingdom Hearts 3, 58 and a half days.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck,
Yeah, that's the DLC, but yes.
I'm not gonna. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Yeah, I mean that. I didn't like that game.
Metal Gear. I liked Metal Gear Rising, but Revengeance is kind of dumb.
Yeah. What's wrong with Alan Wake? What the hell's wrong with these people?
Alan Wake.
It's just a name. It's
his name.
It's just a name. Yeah.
No.
Oh, here we go. Tactics Ogre. Let us cling together.
I know.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's a dumb one.
Divine Divinity. Like, wait, what? Divine Divinity? That's stupid.
Shit, I would even say Fortnite. Fortnite. It's happening on a fortnight. What do you mean?
Well, it does make sense. It does make sense.
I mean, it's the from the original gameplay. You're building forts.
The fort, you're building. It's a
play on the word Fortnite. You know.
Yeah, it's building forts, and then the whole thing where it changed as time progresses. It happens.
No, I know, but it's not what the game is now.
I know, but that's what it originally was. Yeah,
it should be. I don't know. It should be a whole other name. They should have just updated it.
Here we go.
That's why they add those little names on.
Yeah, Dissidia 02 Final Fantasy.
Yes, Dissidia in general. Is
not 12 012. Like, what are we doing?
012. 12.
Yeah, I don't know. It's stupid. There's no 12.
Yeah, most Japanese games.
Yeah, I know. Japanese games in general have weird shit.
Very odd names.
Yeah. All right. And the last. Yeah, Urgai. Yeah, Urgai is fine.
Urgeist is something of the ring. What they called it?
Yeah.
Glory to the ring. It's what?
All right, and the last question. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for one of the dumb ones that's also quite good is the Near Replicant one, which is like version 1. Whatever nonsense.
Oh yeah, where they put the numbers at the end. Yeah. Near Replicant 1.1.11.
Japanese games, man. But also a good one is Alien Isolation.
Ooh, that's
I think
a good
that's
one.
a really good name because I still don't understand. Well, I can't pinpoint what the isolation is to do with. Is it you are isolated? The alien is isolated?
You're isolated with the
alien. Why not both?
You're both stuck. You're isolated.
That's why it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like, who's in isolation here? Like, both of you are in space? Or it's you, or it's the alien? Like, questions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a title's good when it makes you think. I never thought about it like that. Like, fuck, man, Brian getting in there. All right, and the last question of the night. Long show tonight. What are some of the best action set pieces in gaming? Like pretty much anything from Uncharted 2.
Big fights.
God of War. Yeah, the fucking God of War 3, that intro where you're fighting the gods. Crazy.
Man.
Shit,
that even when the God of War, the Dad of War, the first one, that big fight that you had with the first dude.
Yeah, that was pretty epic.
And you're like, oh, it's over, and then he comes back again. It's
I ain't done yet. Yeah, that was good. Uncharted specifically from Uncharted 2. You're in that building that's crumbling around you, and shit is just flying everywhere. That was crazy.
Was it 4? It was a car chase. There was one like huge car chase.
3 had the train.
Yeah, 3 had the fucking. You're in the boat that turns over and shit. Yeah, Uncharted games, man, they were good. All right, what other? I'm pretty sure there's other, but we're fucking tired now. But there's a lot of good set pieces out there.
Call of Duty's had some good ones.
Call of Duty
had a lot of good ones.
No Russian.
There was the one was the best one that comes to mind is the building that's collapsed. Same type of deal, and you're in the building and everything's
Black Ops, right?
It's like, and they were like sliding down. You're like, oh yeah,
yo, fucking Modern Warfare, the recent one where you're in that house and shit, and like innocents throw themselves in front of you. You're like, oh shit, who do I shoot? Remember that? And it's all night vision and shit.
Yeah, the dude's hiding underneath the bed in one area and stuff. Yeah.
When the woman comes after you, it's like, sorry, bitch, you gotta die.
She was with a kid. Yep. She was with a kid too, man.
Crazy, man.
Pero why?
It's crazy.
Have you played the first? Wow, the naming convention is so stupid. The first original Modern Warfare.
I have not, but I'm sure everybody else has.
I played all of those.
The tanker mission on the intro where you're like trying to escape and the whole thing it's after the tanker blows up and then you have like shipping crates like falling around you and you're trying to get off the ship.
Yes.
I remember that.
Tipping. And then I remember that. And you're all running as a team trying to get out of there and it's like it's going down and it was a lot of cool moments with them.
That one has a lot of good ones. And then at the end the before the nuke. Like that whole because
man, that was Call of Duty World at War, and the dude is spoiler. time passes, the dude dies, and you die from the nuke blast, and you experience it, and it shows his credits, like his birth date and stuff. Because you were playing different people in different parts of the world during the war that's happening, trying to stop this nuclear disaster. But some areas you couldn't stop it, and your guy it doesn't matter how good you played it out, your dude was gonna die.
Good stuff. All right, man. I start wrapping it up here. Rich, what is happening with the coalition this week? See if my man's still up. There he is.
Oh yeah, I'm here. And by the way, I did hear that joke that Carlos had earlier about me, but don't worry, Carlos. I'm saving something for you. Yeah. I got something I will be saving for you. Before I get into what's going on with the coalition, I actually want to give Adam the floor because he does have something coming, so I'm gonna give him a chance to promote what we can expect very soon from him.
Oh, well, I mean, we got a bunch of stuff, but one of the things, and I brought this up before, bringing up, I'm going to be doing a new show, and it's called Talking Reacher, and it's all about Reacher, the Lee Child from the novels, all his novels. That's over on Amazon Prime. He's there on season 3 of this show, which is fantastic. Great action show, a lot of craziness going on. And there's a lot to talk about because we were just saying now about set pieces. That show has a lot of crazy set pieces. Very fun show to watch. A lot of good storylines in that because it's, of course, based off of these novels. So covering that's going to be over on our Coalition channel on YouTube and then also on Spotify. So hopefully we'll have that done within like 2 weeks or so. The first episode comes out February 20th. So that should be fun. And then we got a bunch of reviews. I'm doing the Spider-Man 2, and hopefully a lot of these things that they keep saying they're just falling apart are fixed. I'm assuming so because this is Nexus that did it. Nexus works on all the other ones. This is not Iron Galaxy that had all those issues with other ports. So I have no doubt that this is going to get verified, and all the issues that people are having with the ray tracer, they're going to fix this shit. It's Spider-Man, not going to let this one die. And looking forward to some of the other stuff. Got some Yakuza that's going to be fun, right, on the pirate ship. So we got stuff coming out. And it'll be on the Coalition. So check that out.
Now, Rich, do I need to make the next announcement?
Oh, yeah. I'll let you make. Yes, you do.
Yes, it is happening, people. The return of the Invincible podcast. That'll be me, Dana, Carlos, Rich, and who knows who else. Maybe we could dig up our boy Joey Polanco, But yeah, we'll be back. It'll be this week, and I can't say which day, but it'll definitely be this weekend for sure. So stay tuned for that. And Rich, what else? What else is going on?
So yeah, that's a lot to look forward to. As for some other stuff happening at the Coalition, I guess I can say that yes, the February games are going to start to drop. It's a couple of reviews that we will be working on, so stay tuned for that. We also are going to be working on bringing back the Power Show, but we still have a couple of weeks before that drops. Yeah, a lot of reviews, a lot of different things being covered. So you definitely want to stay tuned to the website. And I'll have a lot of other things I can talk about in the future. I can't talk about too much now, but I'll have a lot more to say sooner rather than later.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We'll all have stuff to discuss soon. And Manny, what's going on your world?
So coming in the future, a series of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle covers by Kari Randolph and myself. So yeah, that's those are in the getting done. You're gonna be probably seeing some of those pretty soon. All kinds of fun stuff coming.
Good stuff. All right, we're done here. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Join the Discord and follow us on your favorite podcast app. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Adam Vale.
Have a good week, everybody.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good week, everyone.
And Brian Manjoma.
I don't think that making your studio have less than 100 employees count as a return to form.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Oh, BioWare. All right, guys, we'll see you on Thursday, man. We'll probably be talking about more about BioWare and other stuff.